All right, friends, it's Tina Beckman with a new video on our good friend Renaissance Periodization. Mike Isreatel, the bomba clot of the fitness industry, the lifting gym slave of the industry. Muscle gain and fat loss. I love the phony belly, sticking out the belly. All right, man, let's review this video.
Your goal with weight training has to be, must be, in a fat loss phase, the maximum retention.
Should you lift heavy for muscle gains, light for fat loss? Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
Of muscle mass, because losing it is a possibility you don't want. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. Should you go heavier when you're training for muscle gain and do lighter, higher reps when you're training?
So he's equating that if you lift heavy, you're going to get muscle gain. You're going to gain muscle by lifting a heavy weight. I've never heard that before. So we know that, okay, let's go to here. I got to prove some of the things he says. I got to go through the video, but I'm not going to do all of it one shot. So we know myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. So he says go heavy and you're going to build muscle. But we know that androgen receptors don't control that mass. By lifting heavy, by going heavy, it doesn't equate to mass.
When you're training for fat loss, ooh.
However, if you are on a carbohydrate diet, high carbohydrate, and you are lifting, you will get artificial gains, fake gains, like these type of gains. You'll get an artificial gain. This one right here, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, artificial muscle growth. You're just training for no other reason than the visual aspect of this muscle, whatever, fake muscles with fluid and all that. But you're not adding to the density of the fibers. Why aren't you adding to the density? Because it only happens once when you first come into the gym.
Ooh, is this fact or fiction? Lots of ideas. Let's find out what's correct and what is not. The idea of going heavy for your bulk, my bulker, every now and again.
That doesn't exist. That's just fake, made up stuff. This whole bulk, cut stuff, whatever. It's all baloney, man. It's just to make you do something, to be a slave to the fitness industry.
Again, I read the steroid forums and I'm always upset. And every now and again they use terms like bulker and cutter. Doing a cutter and I found...
Think about it. If you stop eating carbohydrates and you go on a carnivore diet, think about what happens. You'll lose weight.
Your goal with weight training has...
Hold on.
When you are bulking, a very common tradition through the ages has been, okay, you got to go heavy to put on mass. Sets of like 5 to 12 reps is what most guys have in mind. And then in a fat loss phase that everyone kind of knows, or the old school tradition is, I'm old school, brother, is you do higher reps. Maybe sets of 10 to 20 reps, if not higher. But definitely, if you tell most old school bodybuilders, hey, like when I'm bulking, it kind of sets of 5 to 10, 5 to 12. When I'm...
So what exactly are you getting when you're doing that high repetition volume work? Well, you're kind of getting this right here. Not that one. Just a second here. So people that are trained already, coming into the gym like he's talking about, using high volume resistance training in trained young men is largely attributed to what? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. What is that? It's fake muscles, bro. Glycogen.
5 to 10, 5 to 12. When I'm trying to lose some fat, I go to sets of 10 to...
The problem is your problem is you are all endurance training, because you're now coming into the gym often, so you're endurance trainers. Endurance training, yes.
20 is very unlikely anyone's going to bat an eye. You're like, yeah, obvious. But does this actually make sense? It does make some sense. Other sense, it does not make. Let's find out how, first, it doesn't make sense. What are the cons against this view? First, there has been enough research collected now where pretty confidently, never a sure thing, science is never certain, we can very confidently say that heavier loads and lighter loads build a roughly equivalent amount of muscle. Sets of 5.
Well, lighter loads and heavier loads will build these sarcoplasmic artificial muscles. Doesn't really matter what you do there. As long as you stay as an endurance athlete, and even if you are taking steroids, steroids are enhancing your performance. Glycogen enhances your performance. That's what sugar does. It enhances your performance. Carnivore diets. I want to see that pure protein is going to enhance your performance, but if you get more muscle, it'll enhance your performance. You get more muscle fiber, yeah, for sure. But you're not here.
5 to 30 repetitions, and even a little bit outside those ranges, have been shown in almost every study after study after study, different designs, different populations, to just not be reliably differentiable in muscle growth. So if you said...
Of course, it's going to be in muscle growth. Look, I'll explain this. Real muscle growth ended. That real muscle growth ended right here, when you first came into the gym. So when you first came into the gym, you were a newbie. You lifted weights. You were untrained. First training satellite cell fusion. So you got what I would call a bit of damage. These fibers got damaged when you first came into the gym, and the satellite cell was able to fuse. These cells were able to fuse to those damaged fibers. You aren't getting more fibers here. You're just getting a fusion of these fibers to the original fibers that you have. And those cells in the fiber, they get bigger. They hypertrophy. See the ones here at the bottom? They're already hypertrophied. They reached an MND size limit. Now when you get a fusion of this, they hypertrophy. They reach what? An MND size limit. That's what they reach. They can't get bigger without any more of these nuclei. No more muscle cells, nuclei. No more growth, no more hypertrophy, yes. So in your detrain, retrain, notice that it's not coming back. Why isn't that coming back? Well, because you have a problem. There's something called repeated bout effect phenomena. See that? It protects muscle against muscle damage from a single bout of eccentric exercise. It is an adapted. It's repeated bout effect refers to the adaptation whereby a single bout of eccentric exercise protects against muscle damage. And that is the reason why it reaches an MND size limit, but you're not getting damaged anymore. See what I mean? You're not getting damaged. You get damaged when you first came in the gym, but your problem is you stayed there as a lifter. You stayed. You didn't try to get more nuclei. You're simply lifting, and then you're like, well, I gotta get stronger. And so you misconstrued getting a stronger, which is this here, the myocytic androgen receptor, but it doesn't control the mass. And so you have it all confused. And then you become an endurance trainer, and you get what we call sarcoplasmic artificial muscle growth. Now, do those muscles get stronger because you got more of that stuff? No. The muscles do not become stronger. They appear larger, but does not increase the strength. See that? It just increases this fluid. It's artificial muscles, okay? So yeah, man. Now let's go back to Michael, the gym slave Isreatel.
Designs, different populations, to just not be reliably differentiable in muscle growth. So if you said something like, well, sets of 5 to 10 build mass more than sets of 20 to 25, if you loop back to the literature, talk to somebody like Brad Schoenfeld.
I would say that the higher the repetition in a session, and you eating a lot of this glycogen, this herbivore diet, whatever the fuck you're eating out there, your plants and fruits and sugar all day and whatever, your sugar diet, then yes, you will create, it says there, high volume, will create more of these sarcoplasmic muscles. 100%. You'll get the
world's expert on hypertrophy, then it would be like, that's actually not true. And the thing is, a lot of us who do the science, and RP funds a ton of the science, and I'm a co-author on a bunch of papers nowadays, we are all hardcore to begin with. Like, we're all from that era, and we all thought this was true. Sort of hoped it was true. And then we found out it wasn't. So it turns out that
he's hardcore from that era. I'm older than Mike Isreatel. I'm way older. I'm from a different kind of era. I'm a different kind of animal. Something that none of you people seen on the internet. Get it? I'm the old school guy. There's people like me. They're not out there anymore. There's nobody out there like me on the internet out there that will explain it to you the way I do. But I could tell you that there's many types of hypertrophies. There's inflammatory response, lactic acid, sarcoplasmic, blood flow restriction, fiber hypertrophy, myofibrillar hypertrophy. It goes on. There's many types of hypertrophy. Getting water in the muscles, hypertrophy, whatever. Get it, bro? There are many modalities. That depends on your training. What are you training for? See what I mean? What are you training for? What is it that you want? Then you need to gear your training towards that. If it's not, it'll not work for you or anybody out there.
It's just not true to say that like heavier weights put on more bulk or more mass. Take that for what.
How can a heavy weight put on more bulk or more mass? What you're getting there is a gravitational loading and unloading on the cell. Look, even if you are coming chronically to the gym and let's say you're lifting these weights, especially if you're standing up and rowing stuff, pulling, rowing, doing biceps and I don't know, shoulders, whatever, standing up, doing a bunch of stuff, bench pressing, heavy squats, deadlifts, whatever. That would be considered a type of gravitational loading, but it's very short-lived. But there's a disruption in this gravitational loading from lifting that weight. But your body will compensate you with more of these androgen receptors. That's what it does. It doesn't want to build muscle. It is so protected. And it goes into type 1, like it shows there. It goes into type 1 motor units and it stays there. What are type 1? They're endurance fibers. That is your problem. You need to figure out what type of training you need to get that type of thing that you want, that type of hypertrophy. Do you want phony muscles? Do you want real muscles? Do you want blood flow? What do you want? You want to keep going to the gym, being a chronic lifter, being in endurance, and then what? Getting this inflammatory response and just walking around with inflamed muscles all day? Is that truly what you want? Or like I know some guys, they go to the gym, they work out, and they drink gallons of milk. They'll eat pizza and gallons of milk. You want to put gallons of milk into your muscles? You want more water muscles, fake muscles? Is that it? Do you know what it is that you want or what you're doing out there? I know so many people, they're doing things, it's almost insane, it's crazy. They work out and go and eat at McDonald's right away. You know what I mean? They eat shitloads of carbs and then they go, look, I look pumped and everything. They love that pump. They are so addicted to the pump because the artificial muscles, bro. They love that sarcoplasmic pump artificial muscle look. Because it's cosmetic.
It is. There's a probability that it's true, but it's just not evident in the literature or in real practice. You got guys getting big, like Tom Platz. The way he got big legs was like ultra high reps all the fucking time.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not hard to prove. Tom Platz got these type of legs. He did ultra high volume resistance training. He got sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, these phony muscle legs. That's what he got. He even talked about it in videos before in the past.
Okay. So that's just Tom Platz's legs didn't apply? Was he an outlier? If you look at all the data and all the experience, there's just nothing to generalize to. Next, lighter loads may in fact be superior for certain muscles, certain exercises in a muscle gain phase. On average, there doesn't.
But how in a muscle, listen to him, he says a muscle gain. Is muscle getting damaged or are you gaining muscle? Look, there's only two ways to build real muscle. I mean, there's only two ways to build muscle. You can build it fakely, coming in the gym, and the guy's going to tell you you're building muscle by doing these reps and these bulks and things like that. What is that? Sarcoplasmic. That's why they all shoot for the sarcoplasmic, because they know you can't get over myonuclear domain size limit. It has a limit where the progenitor is beyond where it could donate any extra nuclei to that domain to further any more growth. See what I mean? Here's the problem with MND size. It has reached the ceiling limit during hypertrophic process beyond which extra myonuclei are donated by satellite cell to support further muscle growth. That is true. It is beyond. Every time it reaches this size, it is beyond now where it can donate any extra nuclei to support further muscle growth. You understand me? Because it is quiescent. The satellite cell is quiescent. And so how do you get it to come out to donate more nuclei? Well, you can't, because it is protected by something called, hold on a second, it's protected by something called repeated bout effect phenomena. You understand me? It's protected. There's no more damage there. There's no more damage. It's an adaptation. It is an adaptation process. You understand me? Where it's protected. So it's not getting damaged anymore. And that is, people ask me, what is this MND? Is it flexible? Yeah, it's flexible if you understand what the hell you're trying to do, get over. I could tell you that much, because people keep bothering me on my channel.
In a muscle gain phase. On average,
I didn't say that's, I'm telling you that's how you get that muscle. If you want myofibrillar growth, then they're two parts. One is subtle damage. That would call that subtle. That damage is a very subtle damage where it's just binding, it's fusing with the cracks and the domes, but you're not getting any more myofibers, any new ones, and then they get bigger too. That would be something that would be a different type of training as well. But again, it's protected by repeated bout effect phenomena.
There doesn't seem to be a difference between sets of 5 to 10.
Here's another thing. If you do damage your muscles, people associate DOMs with being something bad. DOMs. That could be considered a type of low level to high level damage. You won't know because you don't understand what you're looking for. That could be subtle damage. And if it is damaged, you can get an apoptosis. Now, if you do not eat enough food to suppress that breakdown, in other words, I'll bring this up. So we know that protein, if muscle is going to gain mass, protein synthesis must exceed that breakdown. You must exceed that breakdown now if you get a DOMS. Otherwise, you'll get an apoptosis and you'll lose muscle fibers. They will die and you'll lose them. It's happened to many people, I know.
In a muscle gain phase.
Because they all think they're building muscle in the gym. One guy will tell me, I'm fatiguing the muscle. Oh, you're building it through fatigue. Okay. What is that? Glycogen. Okay, I'm building it with reps. What are you building? Glycogen muscles. But when somebody says to you, I'm coming in and I'm damaging muscles, now that's something else. You're damaging it. Why? Because you want to get more cells. Why? Because you want to further that domain of real muscle growth. That is a feat. That is really hard. See what I mean?
On average, there doesn't.
And you can't be an endurance athlete trying to break muscles to get muscles to break or to damage. That doesn't work in endurance training.
Doesn't seem to be a difference between sets of 5 to 10. Between sets of 5 all the way up to sets of 30. In specific individuals, in specific muscles, some individuals seem to grow better from higher reps. Some individuals and their muscles on certain exercises seem to grow better with lower repetition.
Yeah, they seem to grow. Listen to what he says. They seem to grow. Do you think that muscle damage is growing a muscle? If you damage the muscle, is that growth? How could that be growth? You've damaged muscle. They're dead. Their fibers are dead. They need to get more cells. The satellite cells need to come out, differentiate, divide, split, divide, and increase in number. You understand me? And proliferate, divide, increase in number. And so they bind with those fibers and then they grow. They hypertrophy. But they're microscopic. It takes a while to see that growth. And protein synthesis needs to exceed this breakdown. Otherwise it doesn't. There's an apoptosis and you'll lose muscle. See what I mean? So when he says to you, you're going to grow muscle, that's just crazy. You're growing sarcoplasmic because that's the fool. The industry has all of you fooled. All you idiots out there, you gym bros, you fucking gym slaves and fucking gym fucking lifting slaves, all of you are fooled. You don't understand the difference between building a muscle in a gym by lifting a weight and actually damaging muscle and trying to grow myofibrillar growth as opposed to sarcoplasmic growth.
But because that diversity is the case, you can even find lots of individuals and or muscles on.
But they know that you won't damage muscles. They know that you can't damage muscles because it's protected by the repeated bout effect phenomenon. So they know that that growth is near impossible to get. So what do? They moved for the second best thing that they could do, this fitness industry, is get you to fucking get fake muscles, sarcoplasmic, phony muscles. That's why I want you to eat carbs, the bulk and carbs, and all these weird things.
Individuals which just grow better from higher reps. And
see, you grow better from a higher rep. How can a muscle grow from a higher rep if muscle is being broken down? If muscle is being damaged and you're building myofibrillar growth, how could you be building muscle if you're breaking muscle down? If you're breaking proteins down, how could you be building? That doesn't make sense. You would go home and eat and then build muscles. But he's telling you a rep is going to build a muscle. Get it, bro? So that must be sarcoplasmic training.
low reps are just not the answer. For example, just taking myself, my biceps, if I do sets of 5 to 10, yeah, some stuff happens. But if I do sets of 10 to 15 or 15 to 20, my shit blows up.
Yeah, it blows up because for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water are drawn between the skin and the muscle into the muscle. So they blow up. You get these sarcoplasmic, phony, fake artificial muscles, bro. Get it?
And so if I was to be a strict adherent of the, okay, it's time to bulk, sets of 5 to 10, my biceps just wouldn't grow that much. And then when I got to the fat loss phase, I would notice when I switched to higher reps, like my biceps actually, like, unfortunately, I'm not eating enough to really grow muscle now, but they're just getting a better stimulus. I wonder.
You're not eating enough to grow muscle? You're not eating enough glycogen to grow muscle? You're eating enough, I think. I don't know. Maybe you need to eat more.
What would happen if I did this in the off season when I'm bulking? And the answer is I would just get bigger. So that dogmatic.
Think about what is bulking really all about. It's carbohydrate. They want you to bulk. It's mostly carbohydrates. It's not protein. If protein really does build muscles, then why aren't you all just eating protein? You wouldn't have to eat any carbohydrates whatsoever. Why are you eating that? Ask yourself that question.
Got to train heavier to put on size thing isn't just not statistically on average true.
You have to train heavy to put on size. Why do you have to train heavy to put on size? You mean train heavy to damage the deeper, to damage muscles? And then the progenitor donates and then it gets size? Like, what are you talking about? And how much do you need to eat there exactly? And what if you get an apoptosis? And what's the feeling of that if you get damaged muscles? What does it feel like? A DOMS? You get sore after the workout, or is it a delayed onset muscle soreness? And how long does that last for? And what type of damage is it? Subtle or is it massive damage that I got? What did you get? Did you get a fusion of the satellite cells, or did you get a fusion and you got some new myofibers? What did you get?
It's on average neutral. There are many times where it's actually wrong. And so if you have that dogmatic view, you're going to be wrong a lot. You're going to have the situation where you're doing sets of 5 to 10 on squats and leg presses, and your knees kind of hurt a little bit. Your quads get a decent pump, decent tension. Takes you a few days to recover.
Again, if you're getting a pump, you don't get pumped on a carnivore diet, on a protein diet. You get pumped on carbohydrate, sugar, shit, drug diets. Get it, bro, man? Yeah, man.
And you're good to go, and you're having like okay leg training, and then one of your buddies comes in from out of town and you hit a couple sessions with him. You know, he's there for, maybe he's staying with you for a few weeks or something before your wedding or some shit like that, getting you ready for the married life. And you hit a couple workouts with him and he's doing like a high rep program, and you're like, bro, my legs are exploding. I'm sore all the fucking time. My pumps are out of this world. I physically.
Okay. He says they're sore. That means there's lactic acid, so they're sore and the pumps are out of this world. Then you're building sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. That is the pump, bro. Get it?
He fucking added like half an inch, I swear to God, in the last 2 weeks on my legs. He's like, oh, sweet, I love it. Yeah, this rep range really works for me. And then he gets on a flight and leaves. And you're like, all right, back to bulking. Sets of 5 to 10 that didn't really work all that well for me. So there are situations in which clearly higher reps work better. And
yeah, high reps work really good for getting these sarcoplasmic muscles. They work really well. That's why bodybuilders are bigger than power lifters, because power lifters short range, heavy weight, and these bodybuilders are doing the same thing, but they're also doing a lot of high repetition pump work. Get it?
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. One thing I didn't write here on the PowerPoint, which is also true, is the corollary of that. Is in the fat loss phase, some guys, if they do nice controlled slow eccentrics, nice and strict, injury probability kept low, sets of like 8 to 10 or even 6 to 10, they can have an unbelievably more efficacious retention of their muscle tissue. Some guys could say, like,
I don't know what he meant by retention something muscle tissue. What the hell are you talking about?
dude, as soon as I start going light pre-contest, my fucking shit falls off my body. My muscles just start sinking off. But
If he goes light, the muscles start falling off. That's a lie. Well, that could be gravitational loading and unloading. Because definitely, if you're not loading enough of this heavy weight, like you're doing consistently, chronically lifting in the gym, there is a bit of a gravitational loading on the cells. Then they'll shrink. They can expand and shrink due to gravitational loading and unloading. That is a type of hypertrophy.
if I keep going as heavy as I can safely, I just have this fucking hard, big-ass look. I'm able to retain all my treble muscles.
I find that's what the majority of these people are trying to do. They get a little bit of gravitational loading, and then they're trying to retain it, and then they go light. They notice that it shrinks right away because there's an unloading, a gravitational unloading, and then boom, it's like they're trying to just rely on this sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. It seeps. It all depends on the training, again, what you're trying to do. If you want to create phony muscles, do a lot of gravitational loading, unloading, do a lot of this hypertrophy stuff. But it requires a lot of maintenance. So it's a waste of your work and time to put in all that effort into building fake muscles. That's what I'm trying to explain to people.
That happens.
being a slave to something fake that you didn't build, and it's fake, eating an artificial diet, creating artificial muscles, gravitational loading, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, blood flow, whatever, chronic lifting, this whatever, and inflammatory response muscles and all that is garbage. You are a slave to that.
Time. So it's both false to say that heavy training is always best for growth, and it's false to say that light training is always best for cutting.
Not necessarily. Light for cutting, you don't need anything for cutting. You could just eat carnivore diet, boom. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, you're on this drug, a cutting drug, because he's a drug addict. So yeah, if you're taking these cutting drugs, yeah, they definitely will dry you out for sure. And then you do light work.
Problem. Next, you'll hear, guys, this one I had to put in here because it's something you're going to hear, and I want you guys to be inoculated against this fucking nonsense, is...
I try to tell people, building real muscle is extremely taxing and extremely hard to build myofibular growth. And I mean hard. Like, you got to put in work like you can't even imagine. Like, the training that goes into it, none of you would do it. And neither would these junkies, these steroid junkies. They wouldn't do it either. They're fake.
Why fucking build with fucking heavy weights? Right, makes sense. And then fucking etching the details on it.
How does a heavy weight build a muscle? It says their myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength. It doesn't control the mass of the limb muscle. So if that controls the strength, then and it doesn't control the mass, then how could that lifting heavy build you mass? It doesn't make any sense. How can it build you mass lifting heavy? If the myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength but not the mass of the limb muscles, then how can a stronger get you bigger? Makes absolutely no sense. See what I mean? It doesn't control that mass. What does? Well, you could say a gravitational loading and unloading. I'm trying to explain to you that if you were to put a heavy, like 800 pounds on your shoulder and literally like walk, let's say a guy who weighs 500 pounds, 600 pounds, he's carrying all that excessive weight. He will get in a gravitational loading, and the cells and the cells in the bone and the muscle, they will expand exponentially. They will be forced to expand to accommodate him to carry that 600-pound body. See what I mean? So you coming into the gym constantly lifting, you get somewhat of a gravitational loading, but not a lot.
On a cutter. Guns loaded. Don't fucking say that shit again. Fucking on a cutter. I'm just kidding. On a fat loss phase, my bad. I fucking etch in the details with higher reps. Oh, okay. Well, let's pretend I'm a physiologist. Oh, wait, I am. Of sport. And let's pretend that we know something together, you and I, Mr. Viewer, about how muscle works and what it is.
Yes, I don't need to pretend. I already know how it works. And what's your point?
Describe to me how etching in the details could possibly work from a physiological or anatomical perspective. I'm sorry, you're not a sculptor, motherfucker. Either the fat decreases in size or the muscle increases in size.
The fat decreases in size, muscle increases in size. The muscle doesn't increase in size, but it can increase fakely with sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Unless you know how to get over MND size, I don't know, man. Or should I say the repeated bout effect, if you have a way around that. There is some stuff they talk about on the internet. It's very specific. But anyways, yeah, man, this whole thing, it's a lot of it is geared toward phony muscles, what he's doing. Yeah, the fat, easy. Go carnivore diet, goes away. But he's on drugs, so he wants to take drugs.
I don't understand.
He wants to get a cosmetic look. Like a person that would compete with cosmetics on her face and a natural person. Why would you go there natural? You'd put cosmetics too on your face. It would be unfair.
And what etching in details can possibly mean. And if you think about it long enough, it can't possibly mean anything. So people who say I'm using the fucking high reps to etch in the striations, that is just unabashed nonsense.
That is nonsense. They take cutting drugs, or sometimes they take this creatine stuff, kind of gets you muscular. So that's what really happens. Gives you kind of a look, because it's kind of drying out.
Muscle grows or gets smaller, fat grows or gets smaller. You want to etch in details? Keep your muscle the same size or grow it a little bit, and take your fat stores and shrink them down.
Now, fat cells, they could get exponentially huge, those cells, but not muscle cells. They have a myonuclear domain size limit. They can only get so big, and then you need more of them to get bigger. But they're protected by the repeated bout effect phenomena.
Details etched, no rep range required. People will also say You know, the higher reps burn more calories. And that's true to an unbelievably tiny extent.
Higher reps build more calories. Yeah. If you're on a high nutrient diet, what are you worried about? There's nothing to burn anymore.
Makes almost no difference. Your friend's like, hey, can you stop by like CVS for me to pick up like some gum? You're like, yeah, hey, that's all the downsides. There are upsides. And a lot of folks who are hashtag evidence-based will be like, of course that's all true, and that you should just train heavy all the way through. But should you?
Not really.
There. And
So at Lutron, we make lighting control.
And those higher reps are much easier to do when you're physically lighter. You ever notice small people can crank reps like crazy? Big guy does 12 reps and he's on the floor throwing up. And you're leaning out.
Again, you're an endurance trainer. You're endurance training. This is what's happening. And so it's glycogen, ATP, it's energy source, enhanced performance. Steroids do not build muscles. Steroids do not build muscles. They'll build you fake muscles though, for sure. They'll enhance your performance and build you some fake stuff.
In this world, short of actual endurance training, so not only are you getting better reps because you're getting lighter and leaner, but you're now getting better reps internally, physiologically, at the molecular.
I don't know about that.
Potentially unwise. In addition, you may not be able to go as heavy as possible because you are so fatigued, because your coordination is so off, because your muscle.
Yeah, because you're an endurance trainer. That's what's happening. I'm going to leave it at that, man. He's talking about injury risk. Yes, you could get injury. Best practice, stimulus to fatigue. This is more garbage.
Aren't being super stimulated. You can't really feel a ton of tension at that range. There is a burn, but you're getting more of a burn in your lugs than in your muscles. The pump is cool, but it's kind of a transient pump. Like you see some veins, then half an hour later after you're done.
Again, phony muscles pumping. It's glycogen, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Phony muscles, bro.
Training, it's gone. Whereas when you go heavier, it's like a pump that lasts kind of all day. The muscles are perturbed.
Yeah, you go heavier, get more of a pump in there because you're getting more glycogen in there. Yes. It's perturbed, and that's inflammatory response by lifting a heavy weight because your body's adapted. It's not damaging muscles anymore. Get it? It's protected. It's in type 1.
They're tired, but they're more fatigued than perturbed.
They're fatigued because they're in type 1 hiding there. That's their job, to protect from damage, type 2s.
Perturbed, I mean, like if you go heavy and sorry, not heavy, whatever is effective, and you try to use your legs after, they're going to feel weak and wobbly. And
they definitely will, man. I'm going to leave it at that. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. I'll see you in the next one, broski. I don't want to go forever with this video. It's getting boring at this point. He's just going over the same stuff over and over again to waste your time. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, friends. Like, subscribe, and yeah, support the channel helps with the algorithm. Comment down below. I'll see you later.